So starting over is kind of interesting because I've had a number of times in my life where I've gotten the chance to start over. But probably one of the most significant times that I got to start over was when I was exiting my third marriage, and I got to explore life on my own. Because up until that point, I had really almost always been in some relationship with somebody, one of my 3 wives, or with somebody that I was dating in between or whatever. And so starting over for me was starting a life that was on my own. And that was kind of an interesting challenge for me. And when it comes times to surrender, it took me a while to accept that was a challenge for me. For a while, I'm like, I need to get this fixed, I need to get over with, I need to get on with my life and get into another relationship, because it took me over a year to learn that lesson the hard way. But ultimately, what I realized is that my whole life up until that point was constantly seeking some form of validation through other people. And it might have been my bosses, it might have been my family, it definitely was my family, it definitely was my bosses, and it was definitely every relationship that I'd ever been in. In fact, that was ultimately my big challenge, is that I had decided that my value as a human being was based on what other people thought of me and what other people wanted to think of me, which actually is a very interesting tie-in to the vulnerability hangover part, because one of the big lessons that I've had to learn is that when I put myself out there as I actually am instead of as a performance, so that you'll like me, so that you'll think I'm a good person, so that you will think that I've done my job well, when I actually just show up as me, that's vulnerable. I also learned in the process that actual vulnerability only happens if there's risk. If there's no risk, it's not vulnerability. And so then I've learned in the process of leaning into my process, which has involved 12-step recovery from codependence and love addiction. It's also involved an awful lot of soul searching. It's involved getting into a spiritual teaching, which some of you all have been involved in. But ultimately, it has also involved me being willing to be me. And up until I got into this process, up until I had surrendered to this is my process, I was still seeking a validation through other people. And what I've come to realize is that who I really am and what I'm about in my life, which I'm really grateful that I get to live now, is me living who I am, for real, being honest about it. And it comes with some interesting consequences, because me being who I am also includes me telling people about what I do, telling people about the coaching that I'm doing now, which is a profession I wouldn't have gone into before. But now me being of service and helping other people is a kind of a natural following that kind of came through the process of recovering. But I'll tell you, what I'm doing these days to let people know what I do, even in meetings at New Vision Center, right now, in fact, as we're speaking right now, this is me being vulnerable and talking about things, and I don't know what people's reactions are going to be. I spent my whole life trying to read people's expressions. Thank you, I saw that. And one of the things that can happen as a result of that is that I get vulnerable, and then later I'm like, oh God, what have I done? And that Brene Brown coined the term vulnerability hangover. And I have felt that over and over and over again. And one might think, why do you do this? Well, the ultimate answer is me being me, having the feelings that I go through from doing that, not dying, incorporating those lessons and then moving on has me grow, and I get stronger, I get more clear, I get more resilient, and then ultimately I get to do what I'm doing right now, which is to share the message that I've learned, which I think most people would benefit from in the world, and then the hangover gets less. It never goes away. I wish it did. But meanwhile, I can continue to share deeply of myself, of my experience, and I got that, and I'll wrap up really quickly. But it's been quite the lesson, and ultimately I'm grateful for it. So starting over was something I wouldn't have done if it was on my own. I got invited, and wasn't an interesting, it was a very interesting, unpleasant experience. But now I get to learn and grow from all of it, including this. And I think I've survived this, and I thank you very much for coming and listening.
Thanks, Robert.